Binance and Mastercard have partnered to bring a prepaid crypto card to Brazil. The card is going to allow users to make payments using 13 different cryptos, including Bitcoin, Ether, and Binance USD. There are some fees associated with using the card. It's going to charge 0.9% per transaction and offer up to 8% back in crypto rewards. Not the first time we've seen an exchange partner up with a big credit card company. This time it's Binance and Mastercard in Brazil. Will, I'm going to kick this one off to you. We spoke about South America recently, the governments getting together, trying to solve some of their fiscal issues. And now we have some crypto exchanges, trying to address the same problems in maybe a different way.
That's right, Jen. Happy Monday morning. I think this is an interesting story because it talks about the privatization of money, right? Two companies, one a Web2, really a legacy product in MasterCard, and one a Web3, Binance, coming together, trying to make something innovative for everyday people who just want to be able to move their money around for cheap, right? It's really the goal of all crypto, moving my money around securely and cheaply. One interesting story about Binance is a lot of actually countries use Binance. A lot of people in different countries use Binance just as their checking account. They open up an exchange portfolio and an account on there. It's really easy. If you're just not in the United States, you just have to have an email address basically. And then you can add stable coins, you can have Bitcoin, Ethereum onto it, and then just swap around with your friends. You can pay for stuff going to the store. Oftentimes people just trade between their Binance accounts and keep tabs with that. And that's how they purchase things around town. That doesn't happen a lot in Western countries. And of course, Binance is not allowed in the United States, or at least Binance itself, Binance US does actively work within the United States. But Binance, as it does work in other countries, doesn't really exist in Western countries. So we don't really think of it this way. So it's just one interesting angle on it. As for MasterCard and Binance, this makes sense, right? And it does speak a little bit to how Binance is being perceived by some of the legacy financial institutions out there. The fact that MasterCard would be willing to work with Binance, to me, speaks volumes about how MasterCard and other financial products are thinking about Binance. Binance is big. It's probably here to stay, even with all the legal kerfuffle we see every single week on crypto Twitter. Wendy, up to you.
I love that you use old man lingo, Will. It's my absolute favorite. But good morning. Happy Monday, everyone. So I think that this is a really important story. The fact that we, in the United States, we generally are we're frowning upon centralized exchanges right now because of the crypto contagion, which is very much fair. But I think it's important to note in other parts of the world, especially places like Brazil or El Salvador, people are actually using centralized cryptocurrency exchanges to do their basic banking, because in some parts of the world, some of these countries, they don't have access to get to a bank, or they don't have as many financial services as we do in the United States. So I think it's important to look at the entire picture before judging and talk about the pros and the cons. I think that this is amazing. I think it's good. I think it's positive. And it also kind of goes to show you how we perceive decentralized exchanges and cryptocurrency in the West as opposed to other places in the world. And again, you guys, the intended purpose of Bitcoin was to make money accessible to everybody, everywhere, and so for people to actually be able to own it. And I think somebody that grew up with grandparents that were immigrants, I feel like we tend to forget about the struggles that our ancestors went through, how they got here, why they got here, and the importance of being able to bring your money with you and have access to it at any given time. Zach?
Yeah, all good points. I think just also the macroeconomic situation, specifically with those rumors around Brazil and Argentina potentially pursuing a shared currency, makes this timing really interesting, right? I think Argentina and Brazil are among probably the countries in the Western Hemisphere where crypto makes the most sense, right? The specter of hyperinflation always looms large over Argentina specifically, and Brazil has had its issues as well. So for Binance to see this opportunity to say, hey, we're going to come in with this card, we might be a better payment system for you going forward as Brazil and Argentina look to potentially explore what their systems look like. I think that's a really interesting and opportune moment for them to step in and say, hey, this can be as easy as a checking account. Of course, the risk here, especially in the US context, is that these don't have government protections behind them, right? There's no FDIC protection should Binance go belly up, right? You don't get that 250,000 back or whatever, after you go through that long and laborious process, right? So there is that risk there when people take on crypto exchanges as though they are banks, because they don't have the regulatory protections that banks do, especially in the US. I don't know what the situation is in Brazil, so I can't speak to that specific context, but I think the timing is really smart, opportune to say, hey, here's a quick, easy way for you to pay stuff with currencies that are outside the remit of your central bank. And I think ultimately, should this grow and be really big, it does kind of add to those fears that central bankers reserve for private cryptocurrencies such as this. Private in the sense that they're administered by private companies, not private in the sense that they're baked in with privacy protections like Zcash, Monero, etc. So anyway, interesting story all around. I'm glad it was flagged. I saw Wendy up there though. Maybe wanted to get a point before we pass it off.
Yeah, really quick before we talk about this next exciting story regarding NFTs, I think it's also important to note the risk reward that people are taking when using some of these centralized exchanges in areas where their economic policies aren't as good as ours in the West. And I say this very lightly. So they are definitely taking a risk using a centralized exchange, but at the end of the day, that might be the best option for them, and it might be a better option than their banking system. Also, to close out with FDIC, the last letter is I for insurance. We all know how insurance companies work in the US. God forbid you get in a car accident, have fun getting that full claim back. And if there is a bank run that is done in the US to the banking system, your $250,000 claims are not going to get filled. I highly, highly doubt it.